everybody. Adam McKinnon here for episode 2 of RAB TV. Wanted to talk a little bit about 2020, a season that may or may not happen. But according to reporting from ESPN.com's Jeff Passan, it seems as though a lot of major decision makers across the league are growing more and more optimistic that a season can be held in some kind of form or fashion. We're seeing leagues in China start back up. South Korea seems to be shortly behind it. There's some limitations, fans still not really at games, but it's baseball, and it's baseball being played at a pretty high level. So, a bulk of the time, though, one thing I've noticed is when they talk about these, proposed scenarios, they always talk about, the costs to teams, what the players, things like that, very financially driven. Very little is discussed from a fan's enjoyment perspective. Of course, there's the safety aspect that needs to be at the forefront of all of this. But, I just kind of wanted to at least think positively as best I can and see if I could put together like a wish list. Like, what we have an opportunity here to possibly do something kind of cool, something kind of weird, right, for the 2020 season. So I figure why not give it a try? And so I've put together something that I think is kind of a unique, interesting kind of idea. So I'll call it a fan's wish list for the 2020 season. So the first it's really just 4 things. First, the season should be played like a tournament. So let's start by assuming that July 4th would be an opening day. You could do whatever you want with it. It seems marketable, right? I mean, America beats the virus, whatever you want to call it, but it works, right? So there's 108 days between July 4th and October the 20th. It's just an arbitrary date that I picked. You can sort of massage that October date from wherever you want, right? So here's what I would think. If you make it like a tournament, you have a 50-game regular season, 50 or so regular games to determine seeding for the tournament. And from there, the team with the best record in each league gets a first-round bye. And then from there, you whittle it down by best-of-3 series. As the herd starts to thin out, you get the best-of-5 series. And then, of course, at the end, you have a best-of-7, like more of a traditional sort of World Series type of thing. You know what I mean? So, ultimately, what that does is if you guarantee a spot, you have teams that suddenly are playing with purpose. You know what I mean? They're not out of it by June. You've got markets engaged. The fact that you're in Baltimore and the team is pretty terrible matters a little bit less, because even if you're terrible during the regular season, you're still going to make the tournament. And, it's not like it's unlikely, but you could have a sort of March Madness type thing. I think that it would better engage markets across the country when it's needed most. This is an opportunity to sort of quell the argument of disparity amongst the league. It's an opportunity to kind of help teams that wouldn't normally be engaged this year be engaged. Watch the Royals or the Marlins, catch fire at just the right time. I'm not saying they make it all the way, but if you're a Marlins fan, you mean to tell me that you're not going to be interested to just watch, if your team doesn't win the first round of 3, suddenly you have engaged fans. So I think that would be something that would be interesting. I think it would, allow markets that wouldn't normally be involved get more engaged, and it would still give us some semblance of baseball. In a creative kind of way. So 50 or so game regular season, and then run the tournament and go from there. That would be number 1 on the wish list. Number 2, there is how you could do this with extra innings. The last thing you want is to jam pack a season and have a bunch of extra innings games. But I'm going to sort of give credit to, but also steal an idea from Jeremy Frank at MLB Random Stats on Twitter, friend of the show, friend of the site, and I wanted to. He had a absolutely brilliant idea, I think, in terms of how to handle extra innings. Basically, and I'll put the tweet up, but basically what it means is you hit the 10th inning, you got to remove a fielder. You hit the 11th inning, you remove another one. So defensively, you start losing positions. Now you've got some really interesting scenarios that could come of that, because now managers are forced to prioritize, defensive players. Can you imagine Kevin Kiermaier covering an entire outfield? Could you imagine Andrelton Simmons covering second and third as well as short? I think it would be a really unique way. Keep your full lineup. Whoever gets taken off just sort of becomes a de facto DH. And that is, first of all, it's way better than putting a runner on second or whatever, you know what I mean? It just allows for some creative plays, some creative situations. I think it would be great. And I think, again, you're talking about engaging. You're talking about people that are going to be getting back to work. Who knows what the society is going to look like by then. But, maybe this is an opportunity to rope in the fans that you wouldn't normally get. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm definitely into that. I think that fixing an extra innings, and if that's an idea, I think that could stick over time too. So great time to field test that. The number 3 is fix the TV silliness. The tribalism that's sort of built up in baseball now because of isolation, really, in television markets. MLB TV could offer some kind of package that could allow you to watch in and out of market games over a prorated season. I know there's a lot of tangled webs with the cable deals and things like that, but I just don't see how baseball could not somehow make that work in a one-off type situation. So I think ultimately that's something that the league should consider allowing. That would allow, and the reason I suggest MLB TV is because, one, people are not as apt to have cable. This demographic that they're chasing, the Gen Zers, the millennials, not many of us have cable anymore. So this is a perfect opportunity to come in and tell people, okay, well, you can watch any game you want. And the thing that I like, the aspect of MLB TV that I like, is that you can select home or away feeds. So now you get your local broadcasters. You get to hear other broadcasters too. The radio guys in particular, there's a lot of announcers I actually really enjoy listening to when I had the MLB audio app. It'd be great. So anyway, I think that, fixing the TV silliness, I think would kind of help engage people. It would help. Again, it's a one-off type thing. Let's make it fun, right? And then, speaking of making it fun, number 4 is mic the players. There's not I feel like the people that enjoy that are far in the majority. And I think the players like it too. Give it more of it gives it more of a welcoming feel. It kind of, again, helps kind of humanize a lot of players. Pick 1 or 2 players per team, per game, and then, mic them up. Give them control over the narrative of the game. I think it would be fun. I think it would give a level of accessibility to the players, to the team, and just to anyone watching. The whole point is to try to expand the audience. And what better chance do you have than when you have their attention, when you have the most attention? So ultimately, I kind of feel like 2020 it could be, if this all comes to fruition, 2020 could be an opportunity for teams, for the league, to engage and welcome new fans in, and kind of give something that, you know, isn't over the top, that isn't ridiculous in its own way. Still is respectful to the game and what they're trying to do, but also like is different enough and sort of weird enough to engage more people. So I think ultimately that's a few things I'd like to see as we get into the hypothetical 2020 season. I am among the more pessimistic that all of this could happen. Don't count me among the hopeful, but don't count me among the group who thinks it's realistic. So anyway, that's that's what I think. And you can take that for what it is. But ultimately, if we do get a 2020 season, those are some things I'd like to see. Thank you for watching. Just as a reminder, you can find us on Twitter at RMNTC Baseball, romanticaboutbaseball.com. Baseball for Kids, a young fan's guide to the history of the game, goes on sale today. So I very much appreciate everyone who's already purchased it. And if you haven't, we put a few pages up for preview on there. If you have any kids, 8 to 12 years old, somewhere in that range, I think they really enjoy it. So, but I'm biased because I wrote it. So, thank you very much, and look forward to the next one.